G'day, my name's Ian Malcolm and I'm here today to talk to you about a surface planer, more commonly known as a buzzer. A fantastic piece of equipment that we use for straightening timber and dressing it, which means the really smooth side of a timber as compared to rough sawn. Now, if I'm going to use a piece of equipment like the buzzer, the most important thing is that I'm trained in it. I would never dream of using this machine unless I had the proper training that make me safe to use it. If I go to use the machine, I make sure I'm dressed appropriately. I have tight fitting clothes. I have my PPE, which in this case, I'm going to use clear safety glasses, Australian standards, and I'm going to use earmuffs. If I was working at it all day, I probably wouldn't choose the earmuffs. I'd go the earplugs. I just find it a little bit more comfortable. Now, when I come up to the machine, and in this case, the machine is locked out, which means I can't turn it on. It's done by lock and key, and I'm going to explain that a little bit later on. But I come across and I have a look at the SOP, which is the Safe Operating Procedure. The Safe Operating Procedure tells me what PPE I must use, what pre-operational safety checks I need to do, what I shouldn't do, all the bits and pieces relevant to that machine. And you'll see I don't wear any rings on my fingers, I don't have any jewellery on, I don't have anything that could get entangled. I certainly wouldn't wear a hoodie or that where the strings of that could get caught up. If I had long hair, it would be restrained and tied back. I come up to my machine and I have a look at it, and looks like it is in good working order. All the electricals and things look clean and tidy. I look at just the general layout of the machine. It's all good. Most importantly, I check the guard to make sure that's working properly. I make sure that I look at the service logbook and have a look and see if it's been maintained. This one, it being a school, has got a long history every time this machine's been worked on, what's happened to it and who's done it. I make sure that for this, I'm going to get the dust extractor and I pull that one across to open. So when I go to use the machine, the exhaust fan will suck all the dust and bits and pieces. I look around the general area and make sure that there's no slipping hazards, nothing that, the last thing I want to do is sort of slip and fall into the cutter. I can't get bumped by anyone. There's no one in the area that shouldn't be in the area. The machine I consider safe to have a look at. In my pre-operational safety check, I make sure that I'm familiar with the switches and the controls. This one is a star delta switch, which means that to turn it on, I turn it to star, which is one set of windings, then I let it get to speed, then I turn it to delta, which then takes it to the full speed. If I switch it too fast and go all the way through, it'll trip the fuse on the circuit board and I'll have to reset it and start again. So on to star, let it get to speed, on to delta. I make sure I'm familiar with the mushroom stop on the bottom, the big red emergency stop button, where the isolating switch is, where the controls are for this machine. That's my very first thing. And if I'm not sure, if I'm confused about it, I ask the question. I make sure I'm trained in this machine before I go to use it. Next, I check the guard and make sure that it's fully functional, which means that it'll spring back to cover that blade if it's so needed. That one's working perfectly, and remembering all the time as my fingers are going to go near it that this machine is locked down. It can't possibly be turned on, and I have the keys. So I get to the blade and I can spin the head around and just have a look and make sure that the blade looks like it's in securely. Everything looks fine. That is in good working order. Okay. I'm clean. I'm ready to go. I check that the fence is secure, locked up, and I also check that the fence is set up square. So I'm just going to show you what I mean by setting that fence up square. In my school, we always keep a square next to the buzzer. So it allows me to put it down here and check that it is nice and square. You know, I can adjust it. It will tilt over. Let me just release that. With ours, this is a really nice buzzer. This will tilt over. I can do all sorts of angles, but to be fair to everyone else, when I'm finished using it, I make sure it's locked in, nice and square, ready to go. I make sure my push stick, in this case, which you'll notice that there's no screws or nails down here. This is completely made of timber so that if anything should happen, I can't damage the blades. That's always there ready for me to use. This machine is fitted with a bridge guard, which means that this guard extends over this side of the buzzer blade. So if I was to release this, move the fence across, you'll see the bridge guard, which is very close fitting, covers up this side of the blade. The reason that we can move the fence from side to side is that I can utilise the whole blade. So if I'm cutting timber that's 100 mil, for instance, I can start here, then I can move the fence over, then I can buzz more and buzz, and I can get an even use out of that buzzer blade. You know, I don't want to have one side untouched and one side worn out. You know, that'd frustrate everyone. Now, the most important thing is that the timber that goes through this machine is sound and good. We don't want to put anything with a loose knot, you know, the type of knot that you look at it and it's got a little bit of bark and you can actually move it. Halfway through that machine could come flying out. So I'll make sure that the timber that I'm going to use is definitely not used. In our world here at school, we're not allowed to put any second-hand material through the buzzer. It's all got to be brand new, cleaned, checked for nails, and make sure it's nice and safe. Okay, so now it's time for me to actually use the machine. So I've turned the dust extractor on, which you can hear in the background. I've made sure that the port is open so that the dust is coming away. Next, I need to unlock the machine. So, okay, everything's pretty good. I check here. This is the most critical part because I look for that. The difference in there is the height of the cut, and it should only be about 2 mils. But you know, occasionally you come to the machine and it might be 5 or 6 mils because someone's been doing a rebate. Not that they've done it all in one go, but they've come down to that. So I've got to, you know, it's just a very quick visual check that makes sure that that's all right. I've done my pre-operational safety check. So on with my safety glasses, on with my hearing protection. I make sure I've got my push stick ready, everything's ready to go. Earmuffs on. Okay, I come to turn the machine on. So on to star. And you can hear it get to that speed. That's got to the right spot. And then round to delta. Good to go. Everything's good. Okay, I get my piece of timber. I have a look which way the grain's going. I'm pretty sure I'm right. And I put the bow towards the top. So we're all good, fingers clear, and push that timber through. And you can see there, that's now taken it from a very rough surface to a very smooth surface and it's nice and straight. So I'm just going to pop that through one more time. Away we go. Do that again. Okay, now I'm just going to pop that through, and I've got to make sure that my hand is at least 100mm clear from that, and that there's a direct flight path. You know, I'm never going to buzz it and push it that way, so if something was to go wrong and it was going to kick back, I make sure that that's good to go. So, push through. Over with that push stick, guards back in place. That timber's beautiful straight. Now, next, up, put my buzzed edge against the fence, and away we go again. First pass, as you can see, it's not completely done yet, needs to go through again. Okay, one more, still got a little bit that edge, so we'll put him through one more time, keeping it nice and firm against that fence. Okay, perfect. Turn it off. I'm never going to walk away from that machine and leave it running. If I've got to make, say if I want to move the fence or change the depth of cut, I make sure that machine is completely stopped before I do it. If I have to do anything near the blades, I'm going to isolate that machine. And as you can see, we've turned this crooked, rough piece of timber into this lovely straight edge. So I could then put it through the thicknesser and get myself a nice piece of timber. What I want you to take away from this little video that we've put together is to think about your safety. Don't get complacent. You know, I see people that use these all day, every day, and they start to forget the basic safety functions. Make sure that the area is clean. Make sure that you understand it. And if you change your place of employment and you go and they've got a completely different machine, ask the question. Make sure you know where the emergency stop switch. Make sure that it is functioning correctly. You know, if they say to you, oh, we'll get that fixed next month, no, don't use a machine that is not perfectly good. If you find a fault with the machine, lock it out, turn it off, tag it, report it to your supervisor, report it to the wood machinist. Make sure that people are aware that this machine now is locked down and cannot be used till that fault's been rectified. Always, always use your safety glasses, wear hearing protection, whether you wear plugs or earmuffs, doesn't matter. Make sure that there is a clear path. If you know something was to go wrong, this timber was to fly out, make sure it can fly past you. And you know, at the end of the day, you can straighten timber, make it perfectly flat and smooth and square, which is going to make your whole working life easier. This machine is a real treat to use. You know, it's big, it's powerful, and you can very quickly make it into a perfect piece of furniture or whatever it is that you're going to make. Always use the push sticks. Make sure that your hand, you're not trying to push through here. Keep your hand away from the blade. Keep it firm down on the table. And hopefully you'll get to 56 and still have all your fingers in place just like me. The better you understand these machines, the better your finished product's going to be, and the happier you're going to be. Make sure you give this machine the respect that it deserves. Anyway, thanks for watching.